What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your second stimulus check update, and there's a lot going on right now, including President Donald Trump. The stimulus checks that are now included in the next stimulus package of either $600 or possibly $1,200. I have more details of these bills, some wording of the framework of the bill I'm going to give you, which gives us some details that we haven't yet seen until now. And I have another state that is actually passing a $600 check to certain people. I'm going to give you all the details of it in this video. But first, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below if you haven't yet. This way you won't miss out on new videos coming out. President Donald Trump has been very active on Twitter saying if somebody cheated in the election, which the Democrats did, why wouldn't the election be immediately overturned? How can a country be run like this? He tweets hashtag overturn, and no candidate has ever won both Florida and Ohio and lost. I won them both by a lot. Hashtag Supreme Court. He goes on to say, we will soon be learning about the word courage and saving our country. I received hundreds of thousands of legal votes more in all of the swing states than did my opponent. All data taken after the vote says it was impossible for me to lose unless it's fixed. Strong words coming from President Donald Trump. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. It seems that there's more to come from him coming out very shortly. Next up, regarding stimulus checks and the next stimulus package. It seems that we're on the right track in regards to adding stimulus checks into the package, with now at least $600 stimulus checks on the menu. Meat's back on the table, boys. Let me know if you know what quote that movie is from down below in the comments. If you know that one, you win a thumbs up from me personally. So we actually have a part of the framework on the $908 billion stimulus package. Remember, there's two that have been pretty much like announced from the Republicans, $908 billion and $916 billion, which is within 1%. That extra $8 billion, billion with a B, is only 1% more money, which is kind of crazy. It's like we're talking about monopoly money here. But yet they're so stingy when it comes to like money for the people. I don't know, go figure that one out. But we have a new framework, more details on this bill. Let me show you. All right, this has just been released today. It's called the Bipartisan Emergency COVID Relief Act of 2020 for $908 billion. First up is money for state, local, and tribal governments to the tune of $160 billion. Now, ultimately, money for states and governments, states and local governments, states and cities and counties, some of that money does come back to you in the form of rental assistance and stimulus checks, and these states that are basically giving stimulus out to their residents, because there was billions and billions of dollars from previous stimulus packages. Each state got on average anywhere from $1 to $5 billion, and a lot of states are giving money back to their residents in the form of stimulus checks and mortgage and rental assistance. I'm going to have another state for you here now at the end of this video that's just passing a $600 check to their residents, which is different than the federal stimulus checks. But if this passes in its current form, some money to states and cities is good, because it does mean some money back to you guys. I know thousands of you guys have already gotten mortgage and rental assistance and stimulus checks and debit gift cards and all the things that these different states are passing. Now, remember, this is the $908 billion package. So this is the one that has the $300 per week extension. They have finally now drafted this into wording. So what we have here is an extension of the pandemic unemployment insurance programs by 16 weeks, which is 4 full months from their expiration at the end of December. Federal supplemental unemployment insurance benefits expanded by $300 per week for 16 weeks from the end of December into April of 2021. Next up, the Paycheck Protection Program to small business owners to pay the paychecks of their employees. $300 billion to the SBA's Paycheck Protection Program. Eligibility would be limited to small businesses with 300 or fewer employees that have sustained a 30% revenue loss in any quarter of 2020. That's good news because that doesn't mean that means that big businesses won't be able to take millions and millions of these dollars like they did previously, and that'll basically only be for companies with less than 300 employees that have seen a revenue loss. And there's a bunch of stipulations in here. One of the important ones is loan forgiveness process is simplified for borrowers with PPP loans of $150,000 or less. That basically means if you have a side hustle or small business or anything like that, if you drive for an Uber, you're a 1099 employee, which is considered a side business technically by the IRS, depending. You can actually get a loan of up to $150,000. Now, that depends on how many employees you have. If you don't have any employees, you are the one employee, you can still get money for that. If you have a loan of $150,000 or less, it's a simplified process that they forgive it so easily, which is pretty awesome for people with small business. If you have a side business like you sell on Amazon, like we do, or if you drive for Uber and you get 1099 or any type of business or even what you might consider a job, but they don't take taxes out, they don't W-2 you, they 1099 you, you may still be eligible for this, especially if they pass new money. Talk to your local bank or your local banker and see if you qualify, because honestly a lot of people get 10, 20, $30,000 from this Paycheck Protection Program even if they don't have employees, because you are considered an employee again if you have a side hustle, a small business, or your 1099, which is considered your own business. Next up is $12 billion targeted emergency investments to help low income and minority communities withstand the economic impact of this pandemic. Money for transportation funding, which really doesn't matter that much. Supporting healthcare providers, $35 billion for healthcare providers. Vaccine, $3.4 billion for vaccine direct grants to states and local cities to help them distribute it. And $2.5 billion for the CDC for distribution and infrastructure, and allow states to use the United States Postal Service registry to help track vaccine distribution. An additional $7 billion for testing and tracing of the pandemic, which is good because they're running out of money. $82 billion for education providers such as schools and colleges, kindergarten through 12. An extension of the student loan forbearance, which has a current expiration date of January 31st, 2020. They do not mention in here yet, because again, this is just the framework of the $4 billion that we've seen for student loan forgiveness. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Also, they have some details on the rental assistance portion of this. Provide $25 billion in rent assistance to states and local governments and Native American tribes through the Coronavirus Relief Fund. 90% of funds must be used for payment of rent, rental arrears, utilities, utility arrears, and related housing stability services, with 10% of funds available for housing stability services. Specific guardrails to ensure support for the most in-need households, with a preference for households with 50% of the area median income and below. Support can cover up to 18 months of rent assistance, of arrears and forward assistance, and provide an eviction moratorium until the end of January 2021. So that's huge, up to 18 months of rent assistance if they pass this bill in its current form. This bill kind of mirrors the 916 and the 908 because they only changed basically the unemployment and the stimulus check amount in there. So a lot of these provisions will likely stay the same, like this rent assistance. I don't think they're going to have nearly enough money to provide 18 months of rent assistance for anybody. But if they provide 2 or 3 months of rent assistance at, say, $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month, that will be absolutely huge. Even if it's $1,000 a month for 2 or 3 months, that's $2,000 to $3,000. I mean, we're talking about a stimulus check of $600 or $1,200. This rent assistance could actually be more money depending on how they distribute it, who qualifies for it, how we get it. We will get all the details of that when this bill passes. But that's why this rent assistance that I've been talking about, that a lot of people have already gotten, Again, I'm covering different states and cities that are doing this also on a daily basis, but rent assistance sometimes actually works out to be way more money than the stimulus checks. That's why it's important you pay attention as I go through these different states. And if you know of any states or cities that are passing this rent assistance until we get this federal money, that's going to be additional rent assistance. Comment them down below if you know on any new programs. I'll be covering a new one here in a second. But yeah, rent assistance is the real deal and could put thousands of dollars in your pocket to pay your rent or your mortgage. Also, nutrition. This is food basically. Temporary increase in individual monthly SNAP benefits by 15% for 4 months. So that'll give you 15% more money if you get SNAP. 15% more money for that. That's pretty awesome. If you don't have SNAP and you think you can get it, make sure to apply. It also expands the pandemic EBT program to cover families with children in childcare, provides support for the WIC program, Women, Infants, and Children, to temporarily increase the value of WIC benefits to allow participants to purchase additional fruits and vegetables. There's all sorts of different things on here. More money for Meals and Wheels, more money for meal reimbursement through the Child and Adult Care Food Program. There's all sorts of different things in here that when they pass this, you might be able to receive some additional money to basically help you pay for food. There's also $10 billion to support child care providers struggling during this pandemic. That'll be interesting to see what the details are on that also. And honestly, there's a lot of other details in there that really don't concern you that much. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes going over all the details here, especially because this is a proposal. The real thing, in addition to that bill, is what's going on with the stimulus checks and the unemployment checks. So there's two different proposals here, both from the Republican side. We have not heard much of a response from the Democrats back yet on how they want to negotiate it up. But what we do know is the two proposals is the one, first of all, if we go with Mitch McConnell's proposal, there's basically nothing for you. No checks, no unemployment money, no nothing. Luckily, the other Republicans have come a lot more towards the middle than Mitch McConnell, who is on the far, far right. Okay, so these other Republicans, which is coming from the White House, Steve Mnuchin, other Republican leaders, and supposedly Donald Trump, although Donald Trump has said some mixed things about stimulus checks that I'll get to here in a second. This $908 billion package has no stimulus check in there, but $300 per week of unemployment money for anybody who has lost their job during this pandemic. 4 months of unemployment likely, and the retroactive part is really up in limbo. We've seen retroactive back to December 1st, and then we've seen no retroactive at all. We really don't know the details on that yet. The other proposal from the Republicans is saying, hey, okay, we can take that money away from the people that are unemployed and give a $600 stimulus check to everybody and a $600 stimulus check to children. So basically, instead of the unemployed being the only people that get the money, they're going to give $600 checks to adults and $600 checks to children. And the unemployed people would get that, but they would not get an additional $300 per week. There is an unemployment extension in that bill that will extend the unemployment past December 31st for anybody that is a self-employed contractor or a gig worker. You guys can qualify for unemployment right now, but it ends at the end of the year. So they will be extending that, but not giving you any boost money. Now, the Democrats have said, well, we like that you added stimulus checks in there, but we really want them to be $1,200. And they hate the fact that they've taken away the $300 in the second proposal for unemployed people. It's likely that the Democrats can negotiate possibly both of those, either a $600 to $1,200 stimulus check and the unemployment benefits, because honestly, they're not that far apart. They're pretty much as close as they have been for many months. Now, Senator Josh Hawley, who is a Republican, has talked with President Donald Trump, and he says that President Donald Trump is explicitly in favor of $1,200 stimulus checks all the way up to $2,000 stimulus checks, and he actually wants higher stimulus checks than the Republicans are offering. On the state and local stimulus level, Maine will give a $600 check to unemployed workers as their federal benefits expire for workers in Maine. This is a one-time $600 payment to workers receiving unemployment in Maine. This will actually be for up to 30,000 Mainers. So yes, we are seeing more and more states and cities pass stimulus checks, rental assistance, money for unemployed on a day-to-day basis. If you know of any other state local programs or rent assistance, comment them down below and I may feature you in an upcoming video and our viewers can see those programs right away. Make sure to subscribe and to share this video so others like you will know about these stimulus programs. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check videos next. And this video teaches you how to start your own business selling products on Amazon FBA. I have dozens of students that have replaced their entire 9-to-5 income selling products on Amazon, and I teach them how to do that. Click on one of those videos to watch them next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.